I'm just going to say it. I think Lamar Jackson's having a pretty good year this season. There's some numbers to back it, too. A little bit, low key. He is second in expected points added plus completion percentage over expected, third in success rate, which, if you don't know what either of those stats are, I have a video that breaks each of them down. Be sure to check them out. They can help you define how well an offense, defense, or special team is playing. And in addition to those stats, Lamar, I'll be a little more conventional. He's number one in quarterback rating. So, yeah, he's doing pretty good. And there's a lot of support around him. I won't deny that. He has the sixth best offensive line, at least according to pass blocking, when combining PFF's team ranking with ESPN's pass blocking win rate. So the offensive line is definitely doing their part to help him. They have a really, really good construction surrounding their offensive line, as they have Ronnie Stanley, a great blindside blocker. They have Tyler Linderbaum, a great center that can be a nice interior piece for both their rushing and passing offense. They have solid players around them as well. Rosengarten, I think, is the name for their right tackle. He's not particularly good, but he's not a disaster. At left guard, they have Patrick McCarry, who has been a tackle for seemingly 20 years, at least in my opinion, but has been a rotating backup swing tackle, I should say, for years, and now as a left guard. I think he's doing a pretty good job. I know I said he was just like serviceable, but I would say he's a little bit more than that. And Daniel Falele, I think, is the closest I'm going to get to pronouncing that correctly. He's a good guard. He's massive, both tall and kind of fat, I'll say. But he's also kind of athletic. He doesn't have good agility or quickness, but he has decent speed when he gets going. So overall, they have a really good line, and it's just constructed in a very logical way. The fun part begins now, though, with their weapons. They have Zay Flowers, who's 21st in yards per game and 30th in yards per reception, which kind of surprised me, but it kind of makes sense when you think about it. The reason it surprised me is I expected him to have roughly as good, if not slightly better, yards per reception ranking than yards per game ranking. I think it's pretty obvious why I would think that. He's super fast and agile and great with the ball in his hands. So those all combine together to suggest that he can do things with the ball. And Lamar can create a lot of big time throw situations, to steal a page out of PFF's book. So it would make sense to me if he had more deep yardage. But he does a lot of screen game stuff, so that also makes sense. Someone who does have great deep downfield prowess, though, is Rashard Bateman, who is finally coming on, and he's doing so in a big, big way. He's 53rd in yards per game and 8th in yards per reception, which is elite stuff in both regards. He's a solid number 2 in yards per game, and he's a bona fide number 1 in yards per reception. So it's awesome stuff. Mark Andrews, he's 89th in yards per game, which is pretty good, especially for a tight end. You're not always going to get the greatest production. And 64th in yards per reception, which is a bit surprising to me. I didn't realize he had that much prowess deeper down the field. I won't say deep down the field because 64 is still not like elite stuff, but that's good enough to be the second wide receiver ranking for a team. So he's doing really good stuff there. Deontay Johnson, 95th in yards per game, 54th in yards per reception. Really impressive because it seems like he doesn't have a single catch for the Ravens yet. So the fact his numbers are not just completely off a cliff at this point is pretty impressive. One of my favorite players in the league, for not the greatest reasons, I just love the way he plays, is Isaiah Likely. He's 102nd in yards per game and 51st in yards per reception. He really can get after it in deep downfield situations, which is an insane thing to say for a tight end. He is kind of a mixed breed, I guess, where he's part tight end, part slot. So he is, I guess, a little bit of a wide receiver as well. Same thing for Andrews. Andrews can definitely be an inline tight end, but he can also do stuff as a slot. So they're not the most conventional tight ends, but they're also more than capable of doing tight end things. When they have both of them out there at the same time, I consider it a 2 tight end set. And that, I'm sure, means a lot to you, what I think. Rushing wise, they are second in rushing expected points added, which is so logical for a variety of reasons. They're also third in rushing success rate. So they're having success continually, and they're also having success with long runs. That makes perfect sense to me based on watching them play. You got Lamar Jackson as a runner, and obviously you got the king, Derrick Henry, as another rusher, even though they'll sometimes not use him. But whatever. Defensively, they are very confusing. They are 20th in defensive expected points added and 10th in defensive success rate. Defensive success rate is a bit stickier, which sounds a little gross, but it just means that it is going to be that way through and through. And that is good then. They're roughly elite in a sustainable stat. But defensive expected points added means more, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. But yeah, defensive success rate, it's going to stick around more long term. It'll be there from game 1 through game, 20. Defensive expected points added, though, that's going to kind of dictate more wins and losses. So there's merit to both stats. And unfortunately for the Ravens, it's not just defensive success rate mattering. They are poor in big time or big play situations defensively. They'll get beat deep with the best of them. What they do have going for them, though, is they have some super talented players, and they have them at important positions. They have, in my opinion, 6 above average defensive starters, or starting caliber players at least. Number 1, their biggest star, I would say their second best player, maybe third, but either way, definitely in contention for number 2, Kyle Hamilton. He is elite at pressuring the quarterback, I should say. He's also elite in coverage, and get this, he's also elite as a run defender. He is so good at football. He has no deficiencies. Last year, I would say he wasn't the greatest as a run defender. There would be times where he would get beat in that realm. But this year, he ain't taking no crap from nobody. And he's always been a near perfect coverage safety. And he is so good at blitzing. So incredibly good at blitzing. If he's at nickel corner, you never know if he's blitzing or covering. But whenever he does blitz, he's getting through. Like, you could be blocking 9. You have your, running back blocking, your tight ends blocking, a wide receiver blocking. It doesn't matter. You have your quarterback blocking somehow. He's coming in, basically. He is super good. Marlon Humphrey, he's all right at pressuring the quarterback. He can do that with some respectability. He's elite at coverage, though. He is super fast. He ran a 4.41 40. He's got the height to him. He's 6 foot tall. He's solid as a run defender also. So he checks a lot of boxes, if not all of them. Travis Jones, elite run defender. Good at pressure. Not great, but good. Somebody who is a bit better is Nnamdi Madubuike. Solid as a run defender. He's the inverse of Travis Jones. He's solid at run defending. Jones is elite at it. They're both good to, I guess, like quality. So pretty much the same thing. But I think Madubuike is a little bit better. But they're in the same tier, actually. So they're like the same caliber of player. Quality pressure getter. So he has a lot of value, being solid and quality. Kyle Van Noy, solid at run defense, solid as a pressure getter. That's kind of a theme that they have with their defensive players, at least the good ones. They are consistently good. Van Noy, I also think maybe as recently as last year, was not so hot as a run defender, but I think he's improved in that regard, which is insane because he's a bit up there. Odafe Owe, good run defender, pretty good as a pressure getter as well. He is coming on this year. I don't know what his sack numbers are. I neglected to look at those stats, but he can get after the quarterback pretty frequently. They have a problem on their defense, though, where they have 6 above average defenders and then 4 below average ones. First of all, Marcus Williams, he's terrible at coverage. I'm just going to say he is terrible at coverage. He really is. He is usually a stud as a cover safety, but this year he does not have it. I don't know if they're playing coverages that don't favor him or if he's just lost a step or something else. He is really struggling, though. He's also middling as a run defender. I'll be cool. I'll be hip. He's mid as a run defender, not middling. Moving forward. Sorry about that, by the way. Brandon Stevens. He's bad at coverage. He's meh versus the run. Trenton Simpson. He's all right as a run defender. Mid as a pass rusher. Bad at coverage. Just not a good combination of things. Super athletic. So he can match up with just about anybody. He could match up with receivers any given play. I'm not being dramatic when I say that. I think he ran like a 4.41, maybe 4.43. He has incredible speed. And then this one's going to get me in trouble. Remember, this is for this year, though. Specifically this year. It's not a holistic evaluation. Roquan Smith He's quality versus the run. I'm not going to deny that. He doesn't get after the quarterback very well, though. And he's really lacking in coverage this year. So it's a not good situation with him. He's lacking in a lot of key areas. It's important for him to blitz. The Ravens, notoriously a good blitzing team for seemingly ages. I realize that shouldn't really matter too much because they've had different defensive coordinators throughout the years, but they just typically can blitz pretty well. And that requires your linebackers, your safeties, your nickel corners, whatever, to be good at blitzing. And Roquan doesn't really help in that regard. He also is just getting beat a lot in coverage. He's a sure tackler, but that's about it right now. Overall, the Ravens are a super talented team with maybe the best offense in the league, perhaps the best quarterback in the league, I would say, also, more than likely. It's kind of hard. There's a lot of good quarterbacks, but Lamar has stood out the most to me so far in this season, even though, yes, I do realize it's not news to me that he struggled against the Steelers. He is super good. This team, super good. They have a lot of potential. Those are my thoughts on the Ravens. Be sure to let me know what yours are in the comment section. And also be sure to like and subscribe for more NFL content.